careers consultant here at GBS Norfolk House. So I'm running today's session and it's an absolute pleasure. I absolutely love doing webinars. So I hope you guys are looking forward to all of this content. And I hope a lot of it isn't completely new, but even if it is, that's something we can support with. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen. Okay, wonderful. So this session today, if you didn't know already, it's around professional branding and LinkedIn and why it's important to actually showcase this. So just to do an introduction to the careers team, we're absolutely committed to providing a professional standard of service to you guys as our alumni. So we offer impartial advice and confidential advice to support you in achieving your dreams, whether that be, you want to set up your own business, whether that be you want to start working full-time, part-time, whatever that may be. But we'll always try and angle you so you try and find vacancies or long-term employment in the field of your studies, because that's the reason you've done the course, right? Because you want a job potentially out of it, but also you want to progress in that sector. So we'll do our absolute best in making sure we can support you with that. And you can contact us on that careers email address, and by all means you can have a look at our website as well for more information too. So before we get started, I'm going to be presenting Mentimeter because I love a little bit of engagement from our audience, and I'm going to do it too on my side because I don't want to miss out on the fun. So everyone got that? So what does everyone think about when we think about personal branding? What comes to your head? So when you scan that QR code, you'll then be able to insert some words in relation to that, okay? So I'm going to do it on my side too. Okay, has everyone submitted theirs? I'll give you a little bit more time. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to go through these whilst they drip through. So we've got self-promo. So yeah, absolutely. It's blowing your own trumpet and actually owning that skill or identity or who you are, having authenticity. So being different, we're all different in our own right. And I think it's important for us all to be able to have personal branding that reflects us on our true selves, our strengths. So definitely having your strength and running with it. So when I was in school, guys, I was told that I spoke too much. And guess what? Now I get paid to talk. So who's laughing now, teachers? So that's definitely something that you guys can probably use. Selling yourself. So of course, talking about what services you have to offer and how other people perceive you. So definitely, we want to make sure we're putting our best self forward, especially in the business world, because reputations get tarnished through some silly reasons. Sometimes it might just be commenting a little bit crazy on LinkedIn on someone's post and not acknowledging that actually your whole network can acknowledge your comments and those sorts of things. So being mindful of your digital footprint, that's super, super important. Opportunities. So, by having personal branding, you're then able to develop more opportunities on the back of it. So anyone that's joined, hello, nice to meet you all. So if you can scan that QR code that's on the screen at the moment, you'll be able to go onto the Mentimeter. This is like an interactive element of the webinar, just to break the ice a little bit. But I also just wanted to get a bit of a brainstorm going in terms of what we already know about personal branding and what our thoughts are. So whilst we're here, so I'm a careers consultant. We've got some GBS staff members on this call as well, but we've also got some students. So by all means, if you want to type in the chat what you're doing at the moment, who you are, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can give yourself a little bit of an introduction. By all means, you can do that. So I'm going to open this space up for anyone to give yourself a shout out and do a little bit of personal branding, I guess, and you never know what opportunities you may get from this call. So does anyone want to share any insights into who they are, what they're about, anything they studied whilst they were at GBS? Alex.
Hello guys, I'm Alex and I'm the entrepreneurship officer for Birmingham. I help people start businesses basically. That is pretty much all of my role here is 40 hours a week is helping students be great in entrepreneurship. I studied international business management at uni. I was a business owner before I got my degree, so I kind of did it backwards, but it worked in my favor. What else? I really like cake and I'm based at Norfolk House.
Thank you so much, Alex. That was amazing. Does anyone else want to do an introduction or shall I move on?
I'll do an intro, Rose, if that's okay. I'm feeling
Thank you.
brave. It's lovely to see some friendly faces on this call and some new people we haven't seen before. Thanks so much for coming. It's great to see you. I'm Kate. I'm the Alumni and Graduate Outcomes Manager at GBS. So you will have seen my name pop up on a couple of things, I'm sure. And I've got my lovely team here. Jack's on the call and Face on the call. So every time that you guys get an email from alumni at GBS, that's from us. And I'm really, really grateful to see you guys come and attend these events, and really hope that we can continue to work together to support you guys to achieve everything that you want to achieve. So it's so heartwarming to see you guys and to see that there's value, and huge thanks to Roma for lending your hour of your time and longer to kind of get this set up and, you know, grant us your sparkling personality and your lovely face for an hour in the evening. I really liked what Alex said about her degree as well. I also did a business degree about 1,000 years ago, and I think I'm using it quite often, kind of in my everyday life, that I didn't think I would end up using, and it kind of comes in weird and wonderful transferable ways. So I've never done a personal branding session, so I'm really interested to kind of see how this links. So yeah, thanks. I think Selena's typing in the chat. Anyone else want to go?
No problem, Selena. By all means, if you can see the slides, you can type your answers in the chat. That's absolutely no problem if that works better for you, because I definitely want to hear your thoughts and opinions, okay, during this call. And I know we've had some newbies drop onto the call. So we've just gone through not a lot. You've literally just missed a tiny bit of the webinar. So we were just talking about personal branding, what that means to us. So we've just done a bit of a brainstorm in terms of what that means. So we've gone through authenticity, selling yourself, being able to find opportunities, understanding how you're perceived as well, and what your digital footprint is. So if you're not sure what a digital footprint is, it just basically means your mark on the internet. So that could be your Facebook profiles, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere where you're searchable online, that's a digital footprint. Okay. So being more mindful in terms of what you're commenting on certain things, or what YouTube comments you leave in, be mindful, because you can be searched according to those things. So I am gonna continue with my slides. Wonderful. Okay, so we've kind of brushed over it, but I just wanted to go over some of the session aims. So what is professional branding and personal branding? How to improve your professional brand, how to sell your skills on your CV. So how do we actually highlight our strengths directly to the employers? And also how to approach employers on a speculative approach. So even though employers might not advertise their vacancies explicitly through websites or LinkedIn, you might be able to actually contact them away from these opportunities and contact them directly to inquire and put yourself forward for any upcoming vacancies. So you're opening that up. And also LinkedIn and how to sell your professional brand. Okay. So we've already kind of addressed who's in the room, but by all means, if you want to use the chat function, my team will monitor the chat. So if you've got any questions or anything, they'll jump in to support me with that, because I can't actually see the chat. So professional branding. So essentially, it's the process of creating a positive narrative around your name, your career, and your brand, okay, and who you are and what you're about. So it is identifying specific strengths and messaging that people will remember about you. Is it that you're empathetic? Is it that you've got integrity? What is it about you that's going to sell you to your next opportunity, okay? And being able to express your skills and communicate your skills effectively, and understanding what personality traits you've got, what values you've got, and how we can actually express these in person, but also online as well, because it's a little bit different, but it's the same kind of way of working. It's the still same concept essentially. Okay, so how do you build your personal brand? So thinking about taking a personal inventory and developing your message. So that's identifying your key strengths. So earlier on, I mentioned, before in school, I was told that I used to speak too much, but now I get paid to speak. So because that was a strength that I identified so earlier on in my journey, I've been able to find roles that complement that strength. Okay, so it's definitely important to understand what your values are as well. So ethically, would you want to work with an organization that doesn't have integrity? Probably not. So how do you make sure that you've got integrity? How do you make sure that you mean what you say and you're going to do what you do, essentially? and also what your priorities are. So personally, it could be, do you want a work-life balance? Do you mind not having a flexible work schedule? How flexible are you in your schedule? How to share your message in person? Sharing your messaging online is super important as well. And your professional brand is what's going to make you more desirable to employers, funders, all of that. Okay, so thinking about your long-term journey and where you want to be in the future, how can we start immediately to build that positive brand? So, talking about your professional brand, you need to tell recruiters about yourself. So, you need to be yourself. And that I can't express enough. You should be as natural as possible and being true to yourself. So, that could be working in organizations that match up to your values, being able to own who you are. I think that's important. And that's usually a bit of a process. I'm on that journey too. But I actually think having goals and being clear about how you can set up a brand for recruiters to find you on LinkedIn. So I was headhunted to come to GBS, like many of my colleagues. So utilizing your LinkedIn profile to show that you've got clear goals, that you're your true self, show off some of your achievements and your accomplishments. So you can do that on LinkedIn, but most importantly, do that on your CV as well. So rather than just describing what you did in a role, talk about your impact, add in some statistics. Did you lead a team of 30? What did you help to overcome on an operational level? Were there any changes you suggested that were implemented? Anything like that will show your value that you bring into a role. And then don't neglect your further interests. So that's everything maybe that you've studied or that you've worked in. Be a more wholesome person. Have different interests in different things and have your hands in different pies, just to make sure that you are that authentic person that knows a lot about a lot. That's perfectly fine. You can be a generalist and be successful, but also channeling that down for the opportunity that you're trying to secure for yourself in the future. So finding some of the challenges. So we wanted to just research, what are the challenges in recruitment at the moment? So the key things are they struggle to find the right candidate for the role. Some people have stuff on their CV that they don't necessarily know about. Some people lie on their CV, and that's a big no-no because you can get caught out. Attracting good and qualified candidates. So making sure that again, they have integrity. I use that word a lot, but I mean it, meaning what you say. Bridging the skills gap. So, for example, there might be a need of certain skills in an industry, but employers aren't reaching the right people that can do that. So that's what they struggle with. Okay. So talent isn't always actively looking. So the talent in terms of who the people are that can actually do the job, they're not even looking for work. So employers are finding it hard to find people that can do the job itself. So they need to find alternative ways to get that traction, to get those candidates. Okay. So thinking about what employers are looking for and what we can offer them skills, and those are usually called transferable skills. Okay. So let's go straight to a Mentimeter, my favorite. I'd like you to list a few transferable skills.
Or put them in the chat if you'd prefer, if you're on your phone, or feel free to be brave and unmute yourself and say them verbally. If anyone's feeling like they'd like to give a verbal update, that's also fine.
Awesome. So we've got some responses through. So by all means, keep sending them through when you're done, guys, and I'll read them out. So people skills, how do you get on with people around you? That's so important. And being easy to get on with, I feel like is such an underrated skill in a workplace, but genuinely it goes miles. Admin, so having administrative skills, that applies to a lot of roles. Even my role, there's high levels of admin. So I think the higher up you go, there's always admin. So you're right, that is super transferable. And that goes to lots of industries. So you've got admin in construction, logistics, everything we can think of. Collaboration. So I totally believe, being a collaborator, being able to think about how you can collaborate with other departments or even external stakeholders that aren't even in the company you're working for, it's super key. So being able to communicate with people effectively. How we're communicating now is definitely one form of communication, but then we've also got our written and our verbal communication. So are we able to do that effectively, purposefully, And are we able to get the job done via communication? Soft skills. So these are all the things that we're talking about as well. You're absolutely right. Customer service skills, that applies to almost every industry I can think of. There's not a single role, apart from maybe if you're like a zookeeper, but I'd even still say customer service skills for them little animals that you're looking after, making sure that they're getting a good service, that, you know, they're getting their money's worth, or you're supporting them to overcome a challenge. That even applies on a business sense, especially in business to business. You want to make sure that, you know, your customers, which could be other businesses, that they are getting a good service, because no doubt they're paying a hefty amount of money for the service, right? So building those relationships and those key interactions, every interaction counts, right? And then languages. Oh my gosh, the amount of people I've helped into work because of their language is incredible. Okay, so a situation where I've done this. One of our students, they were doing a course. Had previous experience in customer service in banking, but they wanted to get a role as a first line support technician because they did an IT course. We were then able to find a German speaking first line support role. And guess what? They spoke German. So I want you, if you speak another language, please utilize them, pair them up with other skills. That's how you're going to find these opportunities. So again, I encourage everyone. Cooking's definitely a transferable skill in terms of if you're going from being a chef and you want to go into support working, there might be some element of cooking or preparing nutritious foods for your clients. So thinking about transferable skills, what you've picked up along the way, because you've all lived your life and you've also studied. So if we pair that and we pair that together and we find roles that are ideal for that, that's where we're going to see real progress. Okay. So
Alina's also put a couple in the chat that I haven't seen here, and she's put about confidence and resilience, which I think are really important. And these are those soft skills that we're talking about. I think confidence is probably something that we've all struggled with at some point in the past and probably will again in the future. So thanks for sharing those, Alina. I think they're great.
I love that. And resilience, like, again, that's such an underrated skill, like being adaptable in the face of adversity. Like, we all have gone through something in our lives, and how we overcame that, it's a lot to say for ourselves. So using that as a skill and telling employers that you are resilient, you are adaptable, you're not easily phased, you know, you're okay, you can change and you're adaptable to change. All these things are super valuable, folks. And then thinking about your professional brand, using these skills, you can definitely develop that. So being resilient, you know, for example, many of us have gone through redundancies in the past. I've been through it 3 times. I can't lie to you, it's absolutely gut-wrenching, but having that resilience and having that story to tell employers about how you've overcome that situation is important. Commercial awareness, understanding how businesses operate is key. If you want to learn more about that, you know, we've got tools like AI that are out there. So you can always, you know, use these kind of tools to gain understanding, to do some research on, you know, commercial awareness, what different departments do, how they function, how they collaborate potentially together, to make it make sense to you. If you've not had exposure to that, then I'd definitely recommend doing research on that. Good communication, we've mentioned that. Effective leadership and management skills. So we always think to be an effective leader or a manager, we're going to need to be directly working in a management role, which isn't always the case. A lot of us have worked in roles where we've supported with the training and onboarding of new staff. Some of us are like mentors for people that join organizations to help them develop best practices. So thinking about all of the things you've been doing in all of your employment history, or even just life, pairing up situations to these skills is going to allow you to create a better messaging for employers. Planning and research skills. So you will have developed that in your courses in terms of finding reliable source of information, not just going on Google and hitting on the first, you know, the first search. Doing your due diligence and making sure your information's correct, so important. Adaptability, being flexible in adverse situations. Teamwork and interpersonal skills. So we talked about that, you know, people skills. How do you get on and function with people around you? And then, of course, developing relevant work experience. So that could potentially be volunteering. And I know a lot of people turn their noses up at volunteering. I used to be one of them until I realised that's actually where I grow the most because in voluntary roles, you're in a more caring environment where they're going to be more open to you trying out different roles in different departments. So you can actually use that volunteering experience to then bridge the gap of your skills to show that you can work in those sectors or that is your specialism. So you guys might have heard about GBS graduate achievements, but for those of you that might not have heard of them, I'm just going to give you an overview. So whilst our students are studying nowadays, we're embedding employability skills directly into the curriculum to make it make sense to you in terms of what skills you're going to pick up in certain modules. And these are the skills you're going to learn. So we've got committed to succeed, effective team member, confident leader, digitally competent. So that's just developing your IT skills. So whether that means we're doing this and we're having a Teams call to go through certain things, that Teams can be added onto your CV if you've not already done that already. Enterprising mindset. So that could link to like business development opportunities and where you've had to engage with local businesses potentially, or do research on local businesses to develop your own brand. Like however you do it, you will have been using these skills at some point in your journey. And I think the more we link actual skills to situations, we're going to be stronger in talking about how we're the solution to an employer's lack of a skill or a lack of opportunity. Okay. So in terms of how you can grow your confidence, I need you to all know that you're all unique in your own right. And I think it's important for us all to acknowledge that we are all special. Okay. And embracing your own uniqueness is so important. Don't sell yourself short. If you have a portfolio of skills and things you've been doing over time, so own that and be able to pull that through and use that to translate that to employers and say, hey, I'm looking for part-time, full-time roles. If some of you are carers, so some of you might actually have individuals that you care for in your homes, that's a job within itself, and hats off to you. I do the same. So I would say acknowledge where you're at right now, where you want to be in the future, and then bridging the gap in between, because it is going to be a step by step, and it is going to be you being strategic in terms of what skills you want to pick up, what organizations you want to work. But I think once you have a meeting, say with a careers consultant, literally that might be the ultimate step for you to identify what your immediate step is and what your long-term step is. So we can help translate the gap in between in terms of where you need to go, what you need to learn, and how you can layer up on your skills. Okay. So we're here to help ultimately. Okay. So how would you describe yourself? This is so important. So this individual is describing themselves. Okay, so I'm an ambitious individual. I thrive on challenge, constantly set myself goals. So I have something to strive towards. I'm not confident with settling, and I'm always looking for an opportunity to do better and improve my personal performance. Like that sounds like a strong introduction, but I'd even say, when you meet someone, I usually say, hi, my name's Roma. I'm a careers consultant at GBS. I'm actually looking to engage with businesses that are blah, 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 blah. And you actually build it stronger. And I'd always say, if you can, develop like a 30-second pitch or an elevator pitch. So when you meet people, it kind of rolls off your tongue. And the way I memorize mine, I usually have bullet points, not with me. I've got bullet points that in my head that I can relate to when I'm actually speaking to people. Okay. So we're going to go back to Mentimeter again, one final time for this session. In terms of communication, I wanted you guys to rank what you think is the most important. So is it the words that we say? Is it the voice, the pitch, the tone, how we talk? Or is it the body movements, body language, or facial expressions? So at the moment, the poll says that body movements and facial expressions are super important. Voice, not so much, and words, not so much.
First one is the voice, tone, pulse, and pitch for me. Because if you are angry or something like that, or you want to answer very quickly, and don't let the advertiser to speak with you. It's a problem for me. That's why the word is important, definitely, and the body movement on the third place.
Body language. So it's almost like,
Yeah,
are you closed up? Are your arms crossed? Are you open? It's that kind of body
definitely you need
language.
to have a position of professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Selena. I love that. Thank you. So, we will have a look at what the stats say, but I think we've got it right, guys. We absolutely have. So, I absolutely agree. Body language is the biggest part of communication. The way we communicate is literally shown from how our body language is. So if we're not giving eye contact, if we're looking everywhere else but the person who's speaking, if we're, fiddling with something and we're not paying attention, these are social cues that get picked up a lot. So I think it's really important to be mindful of how we present ourselves as well. I know it's a lot to juggle all at the same time. But once we get in the swing of things, of actually, thinking, okay, I want this to be a meaningful connection. How can I make sure that I build that positive rapport with somebody? That's the key thing. Okay. So we're going to go back to my slides. Thank you for your engagement. Absolutely love it. All right. So thinking about non-verbal communication, you're right. Body language, movements, how your face is in terms of like, is it a straight face? Is it a happy face? Arms and what you're doing with it, that actually makes up for 55% of communication. So that's why, when you're meeting someone at a networking event, give eye contact, smile, be happy to be there, be happy to be in their presence, and be present. Because often what I find is sometimes when I have conversations with people, I'm there, but my mind's actually elsewhere. So I think it's really important for us all to be present in that situation and think about how can I make the best out of this situation or make the best out of that relationship with that person. Okay. So again, body language is an unspoken element of verbal signals or cues of communication. And that's how we reveal our true emotions and our true feelings through our face and our body. Okay. So that's super important to take a note of. But also, our facial expressions actually show everything that we are thinking, and we can't say it, but our body will say it and our body language will say it. So I think it's important to leave a lasting impression on an employer or an interviewer or a funder, whoever you're meeting. Be the best person you can be and be present and own that moment, own your body, be in control of your body, but also smile in that process. Okay, so important. So this is just like a little bit of images to just show you what I mean. So hands on your hips can be seen as quite in control, and it can be a sign of aggressiveness, but then also sitting cross-legged or like not having open body language could mean that you're a little bit unfriendly or you're a little bit anxious. So being more mindful of yourself. Okay, we all do little things sometimes, but I think when we start being more self-aware, that's when the real change will happen. And some of us are great anyway, we pick up on social cues, but some of us struggle. I used to, genuinely. I wouldn't know when to do certain things. So
that really surprises me, and I just wanted to say that because I think you're great at that. Those of you that don't know, we happen to be in the same office. We're just a few yards apart. She's over there. But to hear you say that you struggled with that in the past is really interesting, because I think you're a good example of that in action. Like, you're great at that, and your energy comes across always very positive and very open and very friendly. So obviously learning how to do it and training that sort of muscle works.
Definitely. So before, I never used to smile that much. I didn't actually know how to smile until I was older. Honestly, no word of a lie. But then it was also the social cue element because I'm neurospicy, so I'm dyslexic. So I struggle with social cues sometimes and I get really awkward. I would never show it externally, but internally, I've managed to gauge that out. So externally, I'm like this, internally, I'm like this. But now I feel like I'm here. So I'm like, even Stevens. So thinking about how we're going to approach organizations on a speculative approach. So those of you that have just dropped into the call, we've talked about personal branding, how we're going to get there, what body language means, and how to display your positive best self. But once we've done that, how are we going to actually engage with employers? Okay. So a speculative approach is Employers might not have directly advertised their vacancies, but you're just saying, hey, these are my skills. If you have any vacancies, contact me. That's really in short, okay? But that's kind of the flow of a speculative approach. So there's a couple of steps that I'd recommend that you take before you do this. Okay. So don't just go in on an email saying, hi, I'm interested in any vacancies you've got, and leave it. Don't do that. Go out and do your research, folks. In the age of information, where we can get information at the click of a finger, we can do this. Okay. You can do this. So thinking about marketing, if you're trying to talk to everyone, you're not reaching anyone. Okay. So thinking about being strategic, being intentional with the contacts that you're making, and actually having clear messaging about what you're trying to achieve and what you can solve for an employer is important. Okay. So looking for a job is a marketing exercise. You're the product that you're trying to sell to potential suppliers. Okay. So thinking about how you speak to your target organization, you've got to be able to establish why they're going to want to talk to you. Yeah. So do you have a particular skill set that they absolutely need that they don't even know yet? How do we figure that out? We do that by research. You need to start putting yourself in the employer's shoes and think, okay, would I hire me? Okay. Be honest with yourself. This isn't like a public thing. It's for yourself. And think, would you respond positively if someone put in a speculative approach randomly out of hope? And sometimes that might not be the case. So what I'd say is do your research, and these slides will show you. Think what they think and think how they think. Okay. So are they going to certain events? Can you maybe go to that event? Because a lot of employers say that they're attending certain events on LinkedIn. So could you maybe go there with the intention of actually meeting them? You never know. Be the opportunist, folks. Show your skills and your experience that benefit them rather than you. Okay. So, yes, you need the job. Yes, we need the job because we need money. That's what we want to say to them, really. But we can't. Okay. As much as I'd love to be like, just show me the money, it don't work like that. So we need to make sure that we're showing the value in us so they buy us and they buy into us and our vision and what we can bring to them. Okay. So thinking about networking and why networking is important. Okay. So like I mentioned before, many of the jobs that are out there aren't actually advertised. So about 50 to 85% are not advertised actually. So there's something called the hidden job market. Okay. So a lot of sectors that are in high demand. So for example, construction or even education, there may be smaller companies or creative sectors that you'd be able to actually send a speculative email to saying, hey, I'm really interested in working for your company. I've done some research and I've identified key projects that you're working on at the moment. And I was just wondering if you had an opportunity for me to provide X service or B service. So you're actually saying, I know what you're working on at the moment. I know you mean business, but I also mean business too. And this is what I can supply you with. My skill set, my language. You know, if you speak a certain language and you know they've got a project in a certain area, use your language as that transferable skill to bridge that gap, to open up that opportunity. Okay. You don't know unless you ask. Okay. And then thinking about business owners and future entrepreneurs, thinking about networking and how that's going to build your organization in terms of your personal branding and your organization's branding, and who contacts you and for what. You know, you want to be that person or that organization that people refer people to because they know that you've got integrity and you say you're going to do what you do. So that's super important. And then developing contacts that will get you noticed and that will get you a job. So a lot of opportunities, there are ways that you can be referred into an organization, and a lot of organizations have referral fees that they offer you or the person that's working there. So not only do they benefit from the feel good factor of referring someone to get work, they also get money for it too. So if you know certain organizations have a referral scheme, you know, you can message someone and say, hey, I'd love to learn more about the organization you work for. I'm particularly interested in this role. Maybe perhaps you can go for a coffee sometime or introduce me to someone in that department, so then you can learn more about the role before you even start applying and interviewing. So it's that warmer approach to securing those opportunities. And of course, increasing the knowledge of the sector and the organisation. So understanding that there's loads of organisations out there, it's important to develop your knowledge around your sector that you're trying to get into as well. So you know what the offer is. Okay. So understanding online networking, because online networking is a little bit different to just going to a networking event and meeting somebody. So a lot of online networks like LinkedIn provide amazing ways for you to engage with people that are like-minded. Okay, they have closed groups. So if you're into construction, if you type in construction in your search bar on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find actual opportunities on there with employers that are on there as well. So then you can get into their way of thinking. The key thing I wanted to say, guys, is learn to speak the employer's language. Okay. Now, there are certain technical skills you're going to learn, but then if there's certain acronyms, certain terms, certain frameworks that you're going to follow in the role that you're trying to get into, learn about that sooner. So then actually when you have an interview, you can say, actually, I've done research on this framework. And even though I've not used it in a practical session or a practical setting, I've been able to do research to make sure I'm clued up about it. So when I do secure that interview or that opportunity, I can actually apply that knowledge. Okay. So it's about being proactive, learning to speak the employer's language, because each sector have their own language, what they call certain things. Okay. So understand the language of the sector you're trying to get into. That's super key. They also allow you to post blogs on there as well. So if you want to generate more traction and get more connections on LinkedIn, doing blogs about the industry that you're in will actually get you a further reach, because people love reading blogs and engaging with informative content. So if you're about that, definitely use that. And business to business customer pipelines can be developed through social media networking sites now. So you don't even have to go out to your customers to generate them, because they're already going to be on these social networking sites ready for you to snap up. Okay. And that's the same with employers. Okay. So some of them don't even go to networking events because they know people will reach out to them on LinkedIn. So they don't do that many face-to-face events. Okay. Online networking forums allow professionals to develop their knowledge and connect with like-minded people and partner up on business ventures and seek out job opportunities. So what I'd say is definitely speak to Alex from the Enterprise Hub in terms of joint ventures, business ventures. If you want to tag team with another CEO on a venture, how do you actually do that? She can actually tell you, how to get those proposals out and those sorts of things. So LinkedIn has over 930 million members, and that's one of the largest across many of our social media platforms. User engagement's increased by 22% since 2021, and it's still growing. People are still, signing up to LinkedIn every day. Over 58 million companies are on LinkedIn, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. I think back to the 90s where we used to have phone books. And I think, imagine all of those companies on a website ready for you to access. Okay. So thinking about how you're going to engage with them, what type of organizations you're trying to go for, connecting with people that can support with your career goals. So you can connect with all of us as the GBS Careers and Employability team on LinkedIn, and we can support you with that. I'm always reposting vacancies, but also you can share opportunities with your peers or with your family members on there too. So I think it's a great way to find opportunities, whether it be self-employment, business ventures, or, just employment, and volunteering opportunities are showcased on there as well. Okay. So creating a LinkedIn identity, it's about making sure that you've got a good profile. Okay. So you want a professional picture. Okay. So you want to make sure that on a first impression basis, if an employer goes to your page, they're going to make sure that they can see your picture, that they're going to skim and scan through your previous experience, your posts, everything. And one thing that's worth noting, LinkedIn particularly, if you comment on someone's post, your entire network will be able to see that. So again, thinking about your digital footprint, making sure that you're not, using negative language online to potentially paint you in a negative light. But by all means, if you want to debate, have one, but be civil about it. It's really important to just maintain that professional perspective. Write an attention grabbing headline. So keywords, job titles. So if you're into customer service and you're trying to find a customer service role, put customer service in your headline. Details about your current and past work experience, education and training, and make sure that it's clear, concise as well. Okay. And each thing is in the right section. Okay. Add examples of your work and presentations, videos and blogs. So for example, if you're into marketing and you want to get into marketing, use your LinkedIn profile to showcase your e-portfolio. And if you don't have an e-portfolio and you're trying to get into these creative industries where you're doing a lot of content creation or social media management, make sure you're using a portfolio. Okay, and include your volunteering experiences and the causes you care about, because you might actually find an opportunity, maybe with a charity that does humanitarian work, but you're able to embed your skills into that role. Okay, so thinking about the picture, we want to make sure that it's right. Okay, so people with an appropriate picture get more than 14 times the amount of views than someone that doesn't have a clear and appropriate picture. So make sure it's high quality, of you alone, no group pictures. Make sure you're professionally dressed and that you're facing forward so they can see your full face. And if you are open to work and you're actively looking for opportunities, then you can actually toggle on your profile that you can that you're open to work. So that will actually be promoted to recruiters. So I wanted to show you the back end of LinkedIn. So this is something that they'll see as a recruiter on LinkedIn. So they'll fill out all these relevant bits. So if they've got a special, technical skill that they need to source, if they've got a certain location they're trying to source someone to work in, they'll put all these different filters in. And then you can see there's 9.9 thousand people that search filtered through to. Okay. So it's important to know that employers actively use the back end of LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn Recruiter, to recruit staff. I was headhunted to come to GBS. So that was literally because they used this LinkedIn search system. Okay. So they're able to message you directly to say, are you interested in this role, etc., etc. And then you can see it's even filtered down to how many members are open to work. So when you add that banner on your photo, you can actually see 434 people had that at that moment in time when we took that screenshot. 464 are likely to respond, rediscovered candidates, have company connections, engaged in certain things, so they can filter it out to the core. Okay, so that's how employers are going to find you, by making sure that your LinkedIn profile is clear, concise, you've got the relevant information, you're presenting yourself in a professional manner, and then they shouldn't have any doubts. Okay, so thinking about continuing education and personal development, understanding that there's always room to learn. So even though you guys have graduated, right, and congratulations, it's important to build your skill set and be able to understand that learning's going to be like an everlasting thing. So that could mean you might have done a business degree. You might want to look into maybe doing something like a Prince 2 qualification, which is a project management qualification. So all these added on extra qualifications do add that layer of credibility you're going to need to progress. Okay, so having that self-awareness, understanding what your skills are, retaining the knowledge that you've got, because that's another thing, isn't it? Learning something and then retaining that knowledge, and we only retain it if we practice it and use it, right? And then of course understanding performance in general as an employee and being able to be your best self and perform well, so then you get those progression opportunities too. And then thinking about professional organisations, I'd recommend everyone on here to research professional memberships for the sector you're trying to get into. So you'll get access to a tremendous amount of benefits. So you can get professional growth and development from there, because you're going to be around like-minded people that are talking the language of the employers. So you're going to grow naturally. You'll get access to resources, events. You can get help with CV building, networking and job opportunities, and peer support as well. So I've listed some of the professional memberships that you could access that I know of so far. So, for example, the CDI, which is this one, the Career Development Institute, that's something careers development professionals can register with. But then thinking about payroll and anyone that's into payroll and wants to get into payroll roles, you can register with SIP because they've got registered professionals. So you're in that environment, you're with the people, you're talking the talk, and hopefully you'll be walking the walk in no time. Okay. So back to our wonderful alumni team. We have amazing opportunities for you to engage with us even further. And as our precious alumni, we want you to use these opportunities. So we're going to share with you our upcoming events, any opportunities. If we've got employers that want to recruit our alumni, we'll be sending you those information. We've got a LinkedIn page, so the GBS alumni community. So if everyone can join that, that would be awesome because we're always putting stuff in there. We've got an Instagram page and Facebook. So if you're on all of those, follow us all on them. But if you've only got one is good enough for us. Okay. So before I go any further, does anyone have any questions? And I'll stop sharing the screen so I can see you all now.
I just wanted to highlight one thing that, again, you've just mentioned there. I put it in the chat before, but just to say that thank you, Roma, for taking your time to lead this session today. But we do offer one-to-one coaching for free if you are GBS alumni. If that is something that you would be interested in, if there's anything that Roma's talked about here that you'd like to delve into a bit more detail, sometimes one-to-one is the perfect environment. We can do these online, and it can be with Roma, it can be with another careers consultant that we've got. You can come on site if you're still local to your campus, and you can have a one-to-one with a careers consultant there. Please do email us. It's alumni@globalbanking.ac.uk. It's in the chat. You'll have seen the email from us before. Please do drop us a line with any queries that you've got. But if you'd like to book in with a one-to-one with a careers consultant, that's the place to do it.
Okay, for the one-on-one meeting, I need only to email to the email that you send it in the chat and request this for a career support. Yeah?
That's it, exactly.
Okay,
we've got all of your details already, so just say, I'd like one. Please put me in.
Definitely, I will send it. Thank you so much.
And I'm more than happy to, depending on where you're based, because I don't even know where everyone's based. So if you're based in Birmingham, you can come and have a face-to-face meeting. But if you need a virtual meeting, that's perfectly fine as well. We can do one on Teams like this, okay? So don't feel like you're limited. I want to see every single one of you in a careers appointment, okay? All right.
I'm in London, so if you have a meeting in London, with pleasure, I will join.
I'm sure we can sort something out, Selena. Right.
Perfect. I will follow this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for your engagement. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be in touch shortly. Thank you again, Roma. You've been wonderful as always. Hope to see you all again at our next one next month. We'll be sending details in the next couple of weeks, and it will be kind of similar setup, but a different topic with a different careers consultant to give you a bit of a flavour of what we can support you with. So see you very shortly.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye.